the Trollbloods. Should we fail, what awaits us is nothing less than extinction. We stand united or we fall. Embrace any weapon, any strategy, any desperate hope to preserve Kith and Kriel. Before we can enjoy peace, we must endure war. Madrak Ironhide. For Kith and Kriel. The Trollbloods represent a loose alliance of scattered and displaced trollkin tribes called Kriels, who've carved out homes from wildlands the human nations have deemed of little interest. The recent wars of mankind have begun to encroach upon even these remote havens, eroding the ancestral homes of this persecuted race. In addition, trollkins are beset on all sides from the scheming Ouroboros, cruel invaders from across the eastern desert, and the recent rise of terrible draconic monsters. The Trollbloods have answered the call of great war leaders and shamans to emerge an increasingly united fighting force. The stalwart trollkins and cunning pygmy trolls join the mighty full-blood trolls and enormous ravenous dire trolls in an alliance of common blood that combines modern military armament with the unparalleled strength of primal beasts. Every challenge strengthens their resolve and warrior spirit in the blood and bones of these brave peoples. They refuse to break under any pressure and fight tooth and nail for a better life. Fortified by their natural regenerative powers, their prayers to the mother goddess Duina, and the stone magic of their sorcerers, trollkin champions stand their ground. War bands of the Trollbloods. The strength and resilience of the United Kriels. The Trollbloods are a powerful but disordered alliance of several troll species united by a common cause. The majority of its warriors and leaders arise from the civilized trollkin, but they are joined by the adaptable smaller pygmy trolls and the powerful, larger full-blood trolls, at the apex of which are the dire trolls, a species with unmatched ferocity, regenerative power, and voracious appetites. Bolstered by these formidable creatures, trollkin warriors represent and defend a beleaguered people of ancient customs and a sophisticated culture who have been persecuted to the limits of their own tolerance. They fight for their lands, the lives of their families, and for their very survival. Betrayed by former allies and surrounded by both hostile kingdoms that wage war across their territories and invading armies bent on their enslavement, the tribal Kriels of the Trollkin have risen to the occasion with acts of exemplary valor. Rather than being a single nation, the Trollbloods comprise hundreds of desperate Kriels, each fighting for their own battles and only slowly becoming more unified in order to safeguard their kind. Ties of blood and brotherhood connects the Kriels, but no overarching hierarchy is responsible for all of troll kind. A loose collection of elders leads each sizable community, which recent events have brought into closer contact, but these bodies are contentious and generally focused on their own affairs. Despite this, a few great chiefs have emerged as true heroes, working to bring more of the scattered Kriels into their ranks as they seek to unite their people. Without such unity, these leaders fear and the Trollblood race may face extinction. The Trollkin are a solid and traditional race, however, and many oppose the idea of change, preferring instead to pursue victory Kriel by Kriel, as the Trollkin have done for generations. Addendum. Kith, Kriel, Kin. Three concepts run throughout all of Trollkin culture: Kith, Kriel, and Kin. Though that can be confusing to outsiders, these core principles are relatively simple. Kith refers to all the trollkin related to a single ancestor by blood ties or by marriage, no matter how distant. In practice, this usually refers to an extended blood family, much like those of other races. Ties of blood are vitally important to all aspects of trollkin and border troll cultures. The concept of kith is somewhat more complicated by the fact that many trollkin include their kith those whom they have shared the rite of kulgat. This solemn and mystical ceremony involves the sharing of blood in an oath that has caused a change in the blood of the participant, who is therefore recognized by other trollkin as members of their adoptive bloodline. Most honor this status, but sometimes it becomes divisive, particularly when a participant is not a trollkin himself. Although this honor is rarely bestowed to non-trollkin, several notable individuals have taken the Kulgat oath, including King Leto Ralthorn of Signar and Professor Victor Pendrake. Kriel refers to all the kith who dwell within a specific geological region, most often a single troll village and its outlining communities. Traditionally, larger Kriels have encompassed several villages, and dozens or even hundreds of kiths can claim membership to a single Kriel. Just as with its kiths, the blood ties of the Kulgat can cross Kriels, sometimes which may appear to outsiders to be hopelessly entangled webs of family and loyalty. The term kin is a more recent concept applied to the entirety of the trollkin as a related people. As kiths and Kriels have been fractured by the strife of war and displacement, many trollkins have begun to think of themselves as belonging to a broader, connected community. Beyond the bonds of kith and Kriel, any trollkin can look to any other and know that they have a shared common struggle and triumphs of kin. This trend has increased as elders, fell callers, shamans, and other representatives from different communities have begun to communicate more regularly. End addendum. Chief and Council. By all accounts of myth and lore, the trollkin are one of the oldest races on Kain and have weathered adversity and warfare for millennia beyond counting. Within more recent recorded history, they were part of the barbaric horde known as the Mulgur, and many of their traditions stem from this era. In that ancient time, the trollkin fought alongside full-blooded trolls, tribal humans, goblins, and Orgrun. Even though they were a part of the Mulgur, every trollkin held the bonds of kith and Kriel above all others. These extended families arose from simple tribal origins and formed bonds with bands of warriors to protect villages or to join together to war against their enemies. When the Minnite priest kings of old broke the power of the Mulgur, the trollkin people were dispersed, and kiths and Kriels scattered across the dark wilds of western Imran. Separated from the greater community, the Kriels retained only those traditions and stories inscribed on their Kriel stones, and many ancient ways were lost to time. Full-blooded trolls fared even worse than their smaller, more civilized brethren. The humans that were already expanding into the wild reaches of western Imran often hunted down the full-blooded Trollbloods, unable or unwilling to live alongside the scattered trollkin settlements. For generations, the connection between trollkin and troll was tenuous, explored only by a few shamans. The Minnites set upon the hulking dire trolls with a singular ruthlessness, and only the most feral members of their species, who kept to the deep wildnesses, survived. That the trollkin culture endured through this time is a testament to their stoicism, solidarity, and tremendous resilience. Most Kriels settled in the most habitable places that they could find, only deep within the great forests. The Thornwood, the Gnarls, and the Scarsfell forest became home to the largest population of trollkin, and it is these regions that many modern trollkin still think of as their ancestral homelands. Connections with full-blooded trolls were retained in these forests, as some of the larger bloodkin were integrated into the villages in order to assist with burdensome tasks and aid in defense. Other Kriels were pushed to even more remote boundaries, making their homes along the edges of the Bloodstone Marshes or on the shrouded, scarred islands. The basic routines of life in these Kriels have been sustained into the present. A small but notable number of trollkin left the wilds entirely and settled into human-dominated cities and communities, becoming part of those kingdoms and putting aside their many traditions. Only a few human cities in the modern era support trollkin communities large enough to retain identities as Kriels. Creoles are typically led by a number of key individuals, drawn from those vital to the community. Foremost among these is a chieftain and a small council of elders who deliberate amongst themselves on all matters of importance to the kifs of their Creoles. They determine how to pool resources, construct housing, and keep villages secure, as well as making trade decisions with other communities. The most powerful shamans of the Creoles usually occupy significant positions on the Council of Elders, as do senior chroniclers, sorcerers, fell callers, and experts in important trades like stonemasonry, architecture, agriculture, brewing, and hunting. The chief and elders typically serve as the final arbiters for the most difficult decisions affecting their Creoles. Most Creoles allow for contentious disputes to be decided by trials of combat, which take place atop a large elevated stone platform at the village center. These fights can be brutal but rarely result in fatalities. The chief of these Creoles arbitrates these trials and may decide to stand personally for one side or the other if there is a disparity in martial skill between the combatants. In Creoles with particularly imposing chiefs, it's rare for disputes to enter the arena for this reason, which has led to the general belief that possessing a strong chief promotes a peaceful Creole life. Chiefs are usually powerful warriors, entrusted with overseeing a Creole's defenses and making wartime decisions. In some rare cases, a particularly formidable shaman, sorcerer, or fell caller might rise to this position. Chiefs are often male as a matter of tradition, but not always. The transition from one chief to another varies from Creole to Creole, but it is not uncommon for the position to be passed to an eldest son if he is battle ready. Such heirs often spend their lives preparing for this possibility, endeavoring to prove themselves worthy for the honor and responsibility. If the Creole includes a better candidate, such as a notable veteran hero, the chief might select him instead of passing the responsibility off to his offspring. When a chief dies without leaving any instructions, as can happen in battle, the elders are entrusted to select a new chief from among the Creole champions. Chiefs do not directly lead their Creoles except in times of exceptional danger, deferring to the Council of Elders on other matters. Councils recognize a body of leaders is not as effective as an individual at making immediate decisions that required in times of war. Under such circumstances, the chief is nearly has complete authority over his Creole. Isolated kifs that lack sufficient members to host a fully representative council might be ruled by a single shaman or chief. The roles are sometimes one and the same for these remote communities. Even in such instances, usually several community elders will be called upon to provide guidance. In addition to the often tight-knit band of champions, trollkin chiefs are also supported by larger groups of warriors who have sworn themselves to their leader. Known as war bands, these trollkin are utterly loyal to their chief and are typically either closely related kith or from the same Creole. The most prestigious chiefs might lead war bands made up of warriors of many Creoles, and it is not unheard of for many trollkin to travel great distances to enlist in the war band of a chief about whom they have only heard great tales about. The chieftain who commands a large number of warriors will often divide his followers into multiple bands, each led by a highly trusted champion. Though rare in the past, the need for such arrangements has grown along with the scale and scope of battles in the recent years. In the centuries after the defeat of the Mulgur, more trollkin communities restored their connections with full-blooded trolls. Associations with the voracious creatures caused much strife between trollkin communities and neighboring human villages, but the trollkin are often willing to suffer such inconveniences for the raw strength their troll allies brought to them. The destructive power of a single troll is substantial, and with only minor training, the ferocious creatures can become powerful guardians, fighting on behalf of a Creole. The rare warlock who holds a mystical connection with full-blooded trolls invariably ascends to leadership roles in their Creoles. Most of these individuals become chiefs simply by virtue of the enormous wartime power they exert over the trolls that follow them into battle. The trolls of warlock chiefs are typically considered full-blooded members of the war band. Most trollkin communities remain insular until relatively recently. Though visitors from other Creoles are welcome, they rarely engage in concerted activities or made long-term alliances. But as Creoles have been displaced and their homelands overrun by enemies, greater concentrations of trollkin have been forced to live in close proximity than ever before. In these regions, elders from numerous kifs meet to discuss matters affecting all represented Creoles. These regional councils have arisen only in the Thornwoods, the Gnarls, and the Scarsfell, where troll populations are sufficiently dense. Because they present their present hardships increasingly connect all trollkin, stories of difficulties affecting those far away now sometimes prompt coordinated action. Not all trollkin are comfortable with this. Many prefer to focus solely on local matters. Strife between Creoles is not uncommon, particularly between former rivals with ancestral grudges dating back generations.